So what the heck is an oasis of magic? Is it like a little spot of magic in the center of a whole lot of places where there aren't magic, or what? See? Look at it. Big old building. Made of magic. That doesn't look that red. You're just being hyperbolic, game. You know, that's actually kind of a creepy way to describe just shooting somebody with fire, which is what all mages do. So, this chapter is, well, it can be a bit difficult if you don't notice those grassy plains, because those are more or less the normal movement spot. Everything else is desert. Most units cannot move through desert normally, especially not cavaliers. Mages and flyer units can. And the enemy team has a whole lot of flyers and mages. Oh, they also have something else which is a pretty big advantage to them, actually. And yeah, maybe it's right over... oh, who's that? Oh, it's Gharnef. How's it going, Gharnef? I didn't actually expect you to be just kind of hanging out in the middle of the map. Well, let's see what that's all about. I will hold a fireball menacingly at them. Well, I mean, people who aren't good at fighting have probably tried, but not us. That being said, though, he's not lying. Amhulu isn't just a powerful magic spell. It's actually a magic spell that makes him, well, completely immortal. So, yeah, he is just talking to us, the player, about this Starlight spell that could possibly kill him, but Marth and his army know nothing about that. Alright, so this chapter, hardest part right at the beginning, because Gharnef right there... he's not just a unit that hangs about, oh no. Oh, good job there, Seda. Alright, early critical. I definitely agree with that. But yeah, anyway, Gharnef, he ain't just gonna hang around. Oh no. He is going to actually follow you. So, my advice, use Seda, or pretty much any given Pegasus Knight of your choice. Hopefully they haven't class changed into a Draco Knight, because at that point they lose their resistance, which sucks and makes no sense, especially since you can't class change into a Falcon Knight in this game, at least through normal means. I'm pretty sure this has an Elysian Whip, you just can't get it in the main campaign. But yeah, any Pegasus Knight of your choice. We did just have a chapter where we got 2 Pegasus Knights who are fit for the job. And yeah, basically their goal is to sort of lure Gharnef away, and they have enough speed to sort of dodge his attacks, but if they do get hit, then they should have enough resistance to at least take a bit of that damage. I would definitely suggest keeping a physics staff as well, though, just in case something goes horribly wrong, because something might. Oh yeah, and by the way, setting up here was actually so boring that I even cut it out of the non-com version. Like, non-com version, you know, I don't do speed up for those or anything, but yeah, that was actually an edit to the raw footage. And speaking of raw footage, this is completely irrelevant to everything, but do you know how much I screwed up editing the damn raw footage for this? Many, many times. So let me tell ya, I'm kinda bitter about this video, but it's fine now. And I swear to God, if I see a mistake I didn't edit out, I am going to punch something, but I meticulously checked over everything to make sure that wouldn't be the case again. But yeah, anyway, Sada's now in position. She's going to lead Gharnef away. He will disappear after a number of turns, which is nice. But again, he is completely invincible, so we're not actually going to be able to kill him by any means. We just have to make sure he doesn't corner us, basically. And he will just go after whoever is in his range, so... Despite the fact that Sada can dodge him and tank his shots fairly easily, he's still going to be led away by her rather than aim for any of these guys who are kinda just patiently waiting at this point. Now, I will admit, I do kind of love kiting Gharnef around, because the game is basically trying to make me think, oh, Gharnef is this super powerful dude, and technically speaking, yeah, he is, but, I'm just gonna be leading him around the desert. Yeah, oh no, oh, I'm Hulu, once forbidden, now unleashed, oh no! And it's a face, oh, that actually hit, that sucks. Well, to be fair, it was a coin flip, but still. This isn't my best run of this chapter, sadly. I did once have a run where Sada just never got hit by any of Gharnef's attacks, and it was hilarious. Sadly, though, that was not this run. Oh, well. Anyway, people are just gonna kind of be right here. Basically, I want to position all the units that have a lot of high movements out of the way for the units that don't have a lot of high movement to sort of be able to just maneuver about freely. And that time I actually dodged him, and thank goodness, because Sada's going to be surrounded by mages soon. I don't think that actually happened in my first run. I think that might have just been a mistake I made for this one, because I'm pretty sure I didn't allow her to get caught by these mages over here when I, well, not first played Shadow Dragon. I played it a few times before I was actually able to beat it. I'm pretty sure I've gone over this before, but first time I played Shadow Dragon didn't go so well because I didn't really get Fire Emblem, but, you know, after I'd beaten, like, Sacred Stones and Seven and, actually, I think that was it for a little while. Actually, no, I'm fairly certain I beat New Mystery of the Emblem first, and then I beat Shadow Dragon, so I had a bit more experience at that point, so this game's actually pretty easy now, whereas when I first played it, like, chapters 5 and 6 were the hardest things for me. I could not pass those chapters easily. Okay, dude, I don't think we've gotten many barrier stabs, but you really don't need to introduce the fact that, Armor Knights take a lot of damage from magic. Yeah, this is basically saying, well, if he tries to attack you, he hasn't been paying attention. Actually, wait, Gharnef just passed right by his house earlier, didn't he? So yeah, he should have seen it. Him and his wizardy ears. But yeah, he should have just been, like, sipping his tea and then looked out the window and, oh, fuck, suddenly there's the most powerful mage on the continent. Well, fuck, I'm gonna go to the basement now. But yeah, that's, I guess since there's only one house over here, I don't know why they didn't just make two houses, but they kind of did two things to introduce the fact that, oh, Gharnef's leaving now, this is great. Hey, I'm too powerful for you. You certainly did not embarrass me by leading me around the desert for naught. No, I am far too powerful for you, and also this desert is terrible for my complexion. Peace! Oh yeah, and I got myself in range of Swarm as well, and it actually hit me, which for Swarm is incredibly rare, because it's not the most accurate magic, to be honest. Oh, and that was in a very good position for Minerva either, since she has no resistance. And actually, now that I think about it, that guy's advice wasn't helpful in any capacity. Because first off, we know that knights aren't very resistant. They never are. That's kind of their thing. High defense, low resistance. However, this is Shadow Dragon, where nobody has good resistance. So just saying armor knights, you know, that's kind of pointless, because unless they're a mage of some sort, their resistance probably sucks. Second off, who the hell brings a knight to a desert chapter? I mean, I will from time to time. I mean, I'm sure I've brought Amelia to that one chapter that's really pretty great in Sacred Stones, and I always make her a general, because I like her being a big old walking death tank. And, I guess in Awakening it kinda counts. I've probably done that just because of the pair-up system that actually allows you to move pretty far in the desert, but I guess maybe it's just the fact that I don't like using knights in the earlier games just because their movement is terrible anyway, but that goes doubly so for desert chapters. It just seems kind of pointless, actually. In general, if you don't mind too much actually using like more than one type of unit, it's not a bad idea for this chapter. Just because it'll make it go so much quicker, and I know in the past I have said that I don't advocate that sort of thing normally, because, you know, I feel it's better to have a good amount of variety. There obviously will be some repeats, but for the most part, you know, having one of each is a good idea. Now, that being said, though, Khadein, I definitely feel like it would be pretty good to actually go through here quickly, because this isn't my favorite chapter. I think I started to say this earlier, but I do kind of like the beginning just because Gharnef is pretty great. I like how they kind of just spring that on you out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, you know that guy you've heard of, that super powerful mage? He's right here! And he's completely immortal because he's holding the book, so you can't kill him because his face magic protects him completely, unless you have the Starlight Tome. But again, Marth and company don't actually know that yet, so they kind of just sent Seda out, and she flew him around the desert for a little walkie, and then he left, because he's a big old baby. And now the rest of the chapter is kind of just, this. We're going through the desert, and basically we want to escort Julian this way. Of course, as you've probably noticed by now, a lot of mages will spawn from that little area. They just come out of nowhere. There's no fortress. They just materialize. You know, Gharnef was sitting there, and his wizardy ears created this sort of wizard presence that summons other wizards. It's very complicated wizard shenanigans, and yes, that is the technical term. You probably wouldn't understand it. That being said, though, yeah, don't send Julian alone. Julian in alone, rather. He won't survive that long against mages unless you've gotten very lucky with your level ups. Chances are, though, you probably haven't. And, of course, Julian's growth rates, as I mentioned last time, not nearly as good as they are in New Mystery of the Emblem. Also, I don't believe there's a village up on the upper right. Minor spoiler, but this is a reused map in New Mystery of the Emblem, and I like it a lot better in that game. I mean, that's probably what I'd say for most of the maps that reappear in that game, but I can't exactly say why, but it does try to make you go faster through that chapter. Unlike this chapter, where it just says right at the start, hey, stop before Gharnef kills you, look both ways before you cross the wizard, or you're dead, and then you kind of just have to stall for a while, and yeah, in concept it's cool, but I don't really like the positioning, because it does more or less require you to stop if you want to have a good strategy, and as you saw earlier, that stopping was so boring that I even cut it out of the non-com version. You will never see that turn, which was just me positioning my units in a giant square at the bottom of the map. Meanwhile, Seda is just waiting for someone to approach her and attack her. And of course, that was the Draco Knights first, but after that it was Gharnef. Of course, the Draco Knights were a problem, because I just had other people take care of them. Oh yeah, and by the way, while Ballistae aren't the best for this chapter just because movement is terrible, and Ballistae don't get very good movement in the first place, those Aerospates come in really handy here, because, oh man, those Wyvern Riders, you'd be surprised at how much they can kinda wreck you. I mean, they're not the worst units of all time, but, are you seeing this speed right here? It's some pretty decent speed. And he managed to hit Linde, which, quite frankly, is very surprising, because Linde, pretty good at dodging. Actually, to be honest, I've had a lot more luck with Lena, just, like, overall. I mean, I went over this last time, that she's frail, but I kinda have, like, opposite luck with her that I do for Seda. Not quite. Seda's decent at dodging, but I can never get her to crits. Meanwhile, meanwhile with Lena, I don't think I should have as good of luck as I do with her, but I do. So I guess she gets all my good karma and poor Katya gets all my bad, which I guess isn't the worst thing. I don't normally use Katya anyway, just because I prefer Seda. But, you know, nonetheless, it would be nice if Katya got some few lucky shots in, since that seems to be what she's more or less built for stat-wise. And we've more or less taken care of all the guys here. Not quite. We have to slowly make our way towards that cleric who will not defend himself because he is just wielding a staff. And of course more wizards just materialize. Well, I tried to get the treasure. Then I tried to back away, which is my problem. To be fair though, I think sending Kain in will yield some good results, because we're getting to the point in the game where Kain kinda kicks everyone's ass. We'll see it in a few chapters, but Kain has the potential to just absolutely wreck everything he comes across, so I really appreciate him. That being said though, I do like Hardin as a character more, even if stat-wise he kinda underperforms most of the time. Ah well, I can't expect everything. I'll still use the two of them. Actually, I think that's usually my exception to the whole, trying to vary my units rule. I usually have 2 Cavaliers, just because, well, to be fair, the game kind of encourages that, because you start the game with 2 Cavaliers who are slightly different in their stats, but both kind of useful in their own way. I think the only exception to that I can think of is 7? Because I think in Fire Emblem 7, I only use Sane, which I don't like Sane as a character, but I've never had much luck with Kent, which is a shame. At the very least, I can pair Sane up with Rebecca, so the ending of the game kinda disses Sane a little bit. Not enough, but it's something. And, of course, then you have Genealogy the Holy War, which, for the first half of the game, it's just horses, horses, horses! Everybody has a horse, except you, Arden. You just guard the castle and become useless. Not like you have Holy Blood anyway! I think. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have Holy Blood. Pretty sure, like, all of your starting knights don't have Holy Blood and are basically useless in terms of, like, stats and whatnot. I haven't played enough of that game to really know, just because mechanically, that game is just kind of unfortunate, I'll say. It could be better, in all fairness. And then, I definitely use Cavaliers in Fire Emblem 8 a whole lot. To be fair, I use, like, pretty much every character in that game because it kind of allows it, and I actually do a split path sort of thing. And coincidentally, I am actually playing Fire Emblem 8 at the moment, and I just got to that split path thing. I actually like to separate my characters in that. That's kind of neat. Basically, there's just a point in the game where you can do one story or another, and it doesn't really matter what characters you bring, because, well, you don't bring them. All the characters automatically go with whoever you choose. And other than that, there are just, like, 2 or 3 characters exclusive to each path. But damn it, I do love sending different characters down different paths and playing them simultaneously. It's more fun that way. I'm also replaying it because I found a neat hack, which, it's called Restoration Queen, which is a pretty neat hack because it allows characters to be gay, which is pretty great. That's basically all of my pairings in that game. And makes a few other dialogue changes, which I think are pretty good so far. I've only gotten to Chapter 10 with Ephraim because, to be honest, that chapter kind of scares me a little bit, but it also focuses on Erika's route rather than Ephraim's route, sadly. You can kinda tell the difference. Doesn't tweak too terribly much, but you can tell in certain spots. You might also notice that I'm talking about different Fire Emblem games because we are in a desert. Even in RPGs, deserts are kinda dull. Again, next game does it a lot better, because there's actually a reason to be going through that one quickly, and there's a village on the top right, so Marth has to go that way. And yeah, overall I think it's just better structured and it's a little more panic-inducing. Not too much because, as I said a while ago, I'm kinda used to 12 by now, so it's a really easy game for me. Like, even the parts that I thought were the hardest in the game, last time I played, I more or less swept them, so... Yeah, Shadow Dragon, on the other hand, I think is more or less the same. Same as when I had my first successful playthrough. Because when I had my first successful playthrough, I can't think of any particular chapters that gave me trouble. Yeah, none of them really stand out, and the same thing happened here. I can't think of a single chapter where I was like, that was really difficult. I definitely had a few hiccups here and there where I made some bad botches and whatnot, but for the most part it was smooth sailing. Even for most of the Gaiden chapters, which I had no knowledge of going in, I did really damn well. So that's kind of telling that the Gaiden chapters were kind of made to be incredibly easy, because even going into them, I would actually say blind. Like, I went into them and pretty much on every occasion got through them on one take, so, yeah, Gaiden chapters are kind of for babies. I didn't play those my first run, of course, because I didn't want to kill people off. But, you know, now, it's an experience. They'd be fun chapters if not for the fact that I kinda had to kill people off. I think there are only a few more of those left as well. Like, I can think of three. The last one I'm thinking of, which is actually the penultimate chapter, actually a lot different than the other Gaiden chapters, and that it doesn't actually involve killing a certain number of people. It still involves death, though, so it still kind of sucks, but we'll be getting to that when we actually get to that. But to be fair, we are getting kind of close. After all, we did visit Dis-Khadein this episode, and while we didn't retrieve Falchion because Gharnef didn't even have it on him, we do know that it's with him, and eventually we'll go and challenge him, but personally, I'm thinking that it's about time to go back to Altia, because if there's nothing here for us, well, we should just resume our other march. And oh, wow, those guys are all the way out there. Oh well, we're gonna be doubling back anyway, guys, so have fun in the desert! Yeah, that was pretty pointless, other than to establish that Gharnef's a big old jerk who's completely immortal. Oh, and this guy as well. I forgot we haven't actually been introduced to Godo just yet. He's a pretty good character. I like him. He's okay. Listen to me, for I'm a spooky ghost. He's not actually a spooky ghost, he's just... Oh, what kind of phrase would mages use? He is projecting his image so that he may speak with us, for he has to discuss matters of great importance. Like, you're gonna have to kill Gharnef's ass with Starlight. That's pretty important, actually. Considering Gharnef's a major villain here, pretty vital that we know his weakness. Oh, and I guess we also get a little backstory on him as well. Gharnef's a big old jealous jerk, and he killed Sage Milo, who, by the way, is Linde's father, if you've forgotten. So, yeah. Can you guess who I'm going to give Starlight to? I mean, even if I had more than one mage, it would probably be obvious. Yeah, the light sphere and the star sphere, so Starlight. Get it? They really weren't creative with that one. Alright, well, we'll have to keep an eye out on those, but for the time being, it's back to Altia.